Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Really excited. Going to be talking to you about the Ford Ranger XLT Tremor today. I'm going to do a full review of what this package offers. I'm going to explain what a regular Ranger is and what you're going to get more out of the Tremor. So I'm of course going to talk about price. I'm going to talk about the inside and exterior upgrades that you're getting. We'll do a little review of the specs and of course talk suspension, off-road capabilities, and we'll be taking this on a road test. So stay tuned, and I've got a little surprise at the end because if you already have your Ranger, I've got a little solution so you can sort of raptor it up or tremor it up. So stay tuned. I think you're going to find this interesting. Let's get right to it, put the pedal to the metal and jump right in. So you've got the XLT Ranger and you can put a tremor package on the 301 package. So you can't put it on a base Ranger. You can't put it on an XL, and it's got to be the 4-door. But the tremor package I think is a great deal because it's not just about some off-road shocks, because at the end of the video I'll tell you can get those anyways from Ford Performance for your current Ranger. This is so much more. It's $4,250 USD. So the package costs a bit of money, but for the price, you're getting a whole lot. We're going through this, and of course the suspension stands out, but there's a whole lot of visual cues that really change the look of this vehicle. You've got the auxiliary switches on the inside for hooking up lights. You've got the seats. This is an XLT, and that looks like leather and a type of suede, and it feels like it too. It's fantastic interior upgrade. You got the big sticker. You're not paying $5,000 just for a sticker. Of course, you're getting General Grabber ATX tires. They're fantastic. They're good in the mud, they're good in the snow, and they're 3-peak snowflake rated, so they're legal to drive in the winter. It's a great tire. It seemed a little quieter than a BF Goodrich KO2, which I love as a tire. The KO2's got to have a bit more of an aggressive look. These tires look aggressive enough, and they do the job just right. Now, the vehicle has a 0.8 ground clearance more than your regular XLT. So what that does for your off-roading capabilities, well, you get 30.9 degrees of approach, and your departure angle becomes 25.5 degrees, and your brake over angle is 24.2. Now the Ranger already had the best off-road capabilities in regards to those angles for approaching and departing hills, rocks, and whatnot. But this just kicks it up a notch. And speaking of best in class, I did promise I'd talk about Ranger specs, and the Tremor fits into the standard Ranger specs for the engine. And that's not a bad thing, because that's part of why this package doesn't cost, like upgrading to an F-150 Raptor. It costs a fortune for people that work and make money, and it hurts when you spend money. I'm so glad they've got this in between, your regular XLT and a Raptor, which would cost a fortune for me and for a lot of us. So this in between, yes, it does use the same 4-cylinder engine. That's not a bad thing. I'll review that in the road test, what this thing sounds like and how it drives. But it allows us to have an affordable package. The sound when you're just driving along, it's got a bit of a hum to it. It does not sound like a weed whacker. Doesn't sound like a lawnmower, as a lot of people critique 4-cylinders for sounding like. It's got an okay sound. And when you accelerate, I actually like the sound. But shortly I'll be putting up a video of a Mustang with a 2.3 liter with a modified exhaust. I'll actually try to fit it in at the end of the video. So, if you're thinking of getting a Ranger or a Bronco with a 2.3, you want to save a bit of money, an exhaust system doesn't cost that much. So if you like the exhaust at the end of the video, there's an idea of what you can do for your Bronco or your Ranger, because it's the same engine. So you have 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. And a little later on, I'll also talk about a little performance chip that Ford offers that actually will allow you to get a good amount of power more. But back to the Tremor first. Your payload barely changes, and that's another good thing. It's not just, you know, good that there's an in-between this and a Raptor, because a Raptor F-150, while it gives you a whole lot more power and a whole lot more cost, you're also losing towing capability and you're losing a bit of payload. Here, you're barely losing any payload. It's basically the same. You know, you're getting 1,430 pounds of payload off this Ranger Tremor 4-door, and a regular XLT 4-door would be at a maximum of 1,650. So, you know, I've been reading other reviews where they're saying it's 130 pounds. I compared door stickers in between, and, you know, I opened the door to another Ranger and I didn't notice if it was a lariat or whatnot. I just, you know, first keys I could find, I opened the door, and there was only about 80 pounds difference in payload. And anyways, the Ranger has the best in class payload. Best in class payload because on a 4-door you get 1,650 pounds. It has the best towing at 7,500 pounds, and the Tremor package doesn't affect that 7,500 pound towing capacity. That's great. Now, what's wrong with the Ranger? Well, one thing I'd say that, you know, some could say is wrong with the Ranger is that it has a 5-foot box. You know, that's good and bad. It's bad if you want to work with the Ranger, or bad if you want to throw in a 4-wheeler or a snowmobile. It's not ideal, but it's fantastic if you want to go off-roading and fit in some tight spaces. It's also a great city truck because with it being a foot or foot and a half less long than if it had a 6 or 6.5 foot box, it makes it a great truck to drive around the city and actually be able to, you know, get some parking. And we're going to talk about miles per gallon right now. This makes a little less. So this has an average of 19 miles per gallon. So that's 3 miles per gallon less than an XLT Ranger. And that's not because of some motor or transmission issue. No, it's the same motor and it's the same transmission. That's because of those tires. It's not because the mag weighs more. It is an aluminum mag, that's been painted. So the mags are, you know, made of a lightweight material. So that's not due to that. Now for off-roading, you know, we've talked about, you know, breakover and approach angles that, you know, are fantastic, best in class. You've got drive modes too. So you've got normal, you've got a grass and gravel mode, a snow, mud, ruts, and sand modes. So you've got all your drive modes for off-roading, and you also have trail control. Trail control is pretty interesting because that's like cruise control for off-roading. So if you're not a pro at off-roading, this is perfect to not, you know, lose control of the vehicle going down a hill. It'll really maintain itself. Now, just showing right here the off-road capabilities. The truck measures all your angles, lets you know what's going on, and that technology is also used to help keep you in a straight line when you're driving in the snow, and it's actually really useful. This vehicle is great driving in snowstorms with it, and it comes with a 4-low mode, and the 4-low helps a lot if you're off-roading to have a good gear ratio to help you, you know, crawl along. Now back to the inside. Fantastic inside, and that's part of what makes this Tremor package so appealing. It really kicks up the quality of the inside. Now a lot of people are commenting and saying, you know, this interior is, you know, more 2015 and, you know, because of the plastic, and it's not that bad. You know, the parts that are plastic you're not going to be touching anyways. This has lane keeping technology, blind spot detection, so those are great safety features. It has automatic braking up to 38 kilometers an hour for a pedestrian. Best running boards I've used so far. One, they're really grippy and they stick out actually far enough. So these aren't the type of running boards you're gonna put your foot on and when, you know, slip right off and hit your back on the running board. Really nice interior touches. So nice stitching, nice seats. Part of what makes this Ranger worth the $4,250 USD. Now, also a big part of it, of course, is the tires. the 0.8 inch clearance we're getting, and the monotube Fox suspension system. Now the dampening on this shock adjusts, so it's higher for when you're off-roading, and it's going to be lower dampening for when you're going through the town through town for daily driving. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting better off-road capability, and you're getting a smoother, better ride for your daily drive. I thought these shocks would make the vehicle pretty uncomfortable, and it was actually quite the opposite. It drove really more smoothly. I have to kind of precise more smoothly because the Ranger, I compared to an XLT drive, and it's a little stiff. It's a little stiff, but the truck has a ton of payload, and it's got good off-road capabilities. So, like anything in life, requires a bit of compromise. Now, I promised you, if you want to I talked about the ECU chip, promised at the end of the video I'd talk about it. Ford Performance is offering an ECU chip that will bump up your power. I'm going to jump right into that in just a moment. The Ford Performance chip is going to offer you 315 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque. And if you get this installed at the dealer, Ford's supposed to, allow the warranty on the vehicle to continue. And if you want to read up on that and get more info, Car and Driver did a nice little article on it. So a shout out to them. They even list the prices in USD without installation. That's a really nice performance chip upgrade. 315 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque is very respectable. Now, the test drive, there was a low-pitched noise, but while accelerating, I really liked the noise of how it accelerates. And as promised, at the end of the video, I will have a Mustang that's got a modified exhaust. Now everyone's talking about it, that suspension. It's a Fox 2.0 monotube dampers with rear piggyback reservoirs. So that adjusts your dampening forces for off-roading, so higher dampening forces while off-roading and lower dampening forces while driving through the town. And the road test, I'm really surprised. It went really well. It is smoother. I believe that it's smoother than a regular XLT. Now you have skid plates that the vehicle gets added. So that's skid plates for undercarriage protection. And if you don't want to get this supervrew, the big 4-door, to have the Tremor, can you Tremor up your own Ranger? Yeah, you could get a super cab, for example, or the most basic XLT, and Ford Performance will allow you to kind of raptor it up because you can get Fox 2.0 shock system, so you're going to get 2 inches of a bit of lift. You're going to get that Fox suspension, and the price on that is $1,495 USD. So being that it's the 2-inch Fox Racing shocks, just want to clarify that should still give you the 0.8 inches of extra ground clearance that the Tremor offers you. So you can kind of Tremor it up a little, and then you could even throw on that ECU tune, the chip tune, and get your 315 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque. So basically you can raptor up any Ford Ranger, and I think that's pretty interesting. So your 0 to 60 mile per hour time is going to be at 6.5 seconds, and I think that gives us a good idea of what we can expect out of the Bronco 2.3. Like a Bronco, this is getting certain models of Bronco, you're getting the auxiliary switches, and that's great. As I mentioned before, there's for adding lights or winches, and just flashed by was a little XLT Ranger to compare the look. Now this does have a wider stance, so over the wheels you've got a little added lip. You've got that red fang look in the front. It looks aggressive, looks pretty cool. A little close up on the auxiliary switches, which is needed for off-road. So there's those skid plates, the tow hooks. This is overall a great off-road machine. It's got great approach and departure angles. It's actually at its best in class approach and departure angles, and the Tremor just kicks it up a whole other notch. It's got a great trail control system to keep you under control when you're off-roading. bit of that engine noise that I promised. The hum isn't the best, but the acceleration noise I actually like. So, you know, what can you do with this? Is the Tremor worth the money? Yeah, it's $4,250 US. But I'd say it's really worth the money if you like or need the auxiliary switches, because when you want to run lighting, each wire that you run can take, you know, up to 5 hours to run each of those wires, and you have, you know, a lot of auxiliary switches. It's also worth the money if you love the interior, because basically you're getting a high-end lariat interior out of an XLT. So that's huge if you want to be off-roading, or if you love the off-road look. But part of the issue with the Tremor package is, you know, let's compare this to an F250. Without the Tremor package, you're getting chrome everywhere, and adding the Tremor package really, you know, really changes the look. And this doesn't look a lot different from a Ranger Sport. And, you know, also, to ask the question, is it worth the money? Well, it's not worth the money if you need or want a 6-foot box. If so, get a super cab. And if you don't care about, you know, all this nice interior finish, the seats, the Tremel decal, I love it. I love the auxiliary switches. I would use them. I throw on a light bar. But if you don't want and need all of that, you are going to save a lot of money getting an XL super cab. You're going to gain more payload. It's up to 1,860 pound-feet of payload. So, you know, about an extra 400 pounds of payload. So is it worth the money? Well, it depends on you and what you want and need this truck for. And if you just want a fast truck that can get in and out of places easily, and that, you know, small truck, then what I would suggest is look up Car and Driver, look at their Ford Performance review on what you can add to this truck, because you can chip it. You can already add the Fox suspension that you have here. So there are options through Ford Performance. You know, I mentioned it earlier in the video. You can go with that 315 horsepower and 370 pound-feet of torque ECU chip approved by Ford. You can get the Fox suspension, and it's gonna come up to about the same price as the Tremor. I think the Tremor is worth it because they're giving you, you know, the extra little fender, the spacing on the fenders here. They're giving you, you know, a cool different mag. They're giving you a fantastic tire. They're giving you an amazing interior. They're giving you a great running board that you don't even get running boards on the XL. So I think it's worth it, but that's because it fits with what I would want and need this truck for. I have an older truck, so I'm fine. I have a big box. But if you need the 6-foot box, you're gonna have to go with the super cab. That's the small cabin. And if you just want, you know, speed and some look, you know, consider looking at the Stage 1 Performance or Level 1 upgrade package that Ford Performance offers. It's $2,495 US. It's going to give you the Ford tuned Fox shocks. It's going to give you 17-inch dyno gray wheels, and it's going to give you some, you know, some decals on the vehicle. And if you kick that up to the Level 2, which is $4,495 US without installation, that's going to add on the tune to give you the 315 horsepower and the 370 pound-feet of torque. So you can kind of raptor up any F-150, Ranger, and that, you know, that Stage 2 or Level 2 is going to come with BF Goodrich KO2 off-road tires. It's going to give you, you know, blue tow hooks, Ford Performance stainless steel license plate frame, so, you know, who cares about that? But you're going to get that tune that we talked about. So, you know, you can even kick it up to Level 3 and you get all that you've mentioned before. Plus you're going to get Ford Performance chase rack with a 40-inch LED light bar. You're going to get ARP winch capable front bumper. So you're going to change your front bumper. You're going to get a sport exhaust system as well. Oh, and the tow hooks, you know, they're going to go red instead of being blue. But then this kit, I'd say I feel it's not worth the money. It ends up, the total kit for level 1, 2, and 3 is $8,995 USD. I'd say, unless you really need that 6-foot box, the Tremor is worth the money. And the Tremor does give this a better ride. This was a pleasure to drive in the bendies. It was less rough or stiff on the bumps. Payload is almost the same as your standard 4-door XLT. So I think the Tremor's got not just looks, it's got capability, it's worth the money. And for anyone who's watching who's a Bronco fan or has a Ranger or is thinking of getting the Ranger and thinks the 2.3 liter won't cut it, by the way, it's got best in class torque other than Jeep's diesel. So it's a 4-cylinder with a whole lot of bang. It's got, the 4-low, so you can still crawl and have a good ratio at low speeds. And I did promise at the end of this video that I'd have a tuned exhaust off a 2.3 liter inline 4 Mustang. So that's coming right up. But if you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a great deal. And throw any comments, questions, friendly debate, and throwing around ideas in the comment section. That's what it's for. It's not for, insulting each other, but, let's keep this wholesome and family oriented and get right to that Mustang exhaust as I promised. But yeah, the Ranger in the bendies, really, the suspension's a little stiff, but really is it nice and fun. This isn't a wheelbarrow. This isn't a one-wheel wheelbarrow in the corners. You're not flopping around left and right. This drives great. Loved it in the curbs. So now on to the exhaust. So you're either gonna love this or hate this, and don't hate on me if you hate the sound of this. This is a 2.3 liter with no exhaust. It's straight piped. So it's got tips, of course, but it's straight piped, and this is what it sounds like. It gets a little better when we rev it up. We'll see that in just a moment. So, I just want to show you options. If you have a Ranger that has a 2.3 and you say, hey, there's only one engine option for North America, what am I to do? Well, here's an option. Remove the exhaust, straight pipe it. Or if you're thinking of a 2.3 liter Bronco, here's an option. If you like the sound of this, then you know what to do. I sure hope this has been helpful, and if it has, please like and subscribe because we got more cars and more power coming right up.